Today we are going to discuss about hardware features of 8051 from the 5th unit. This topic consists of various subtopics. Introduction, parallel ports in 8051, external memory interfacing in 8051, timers, interrupts and serial ports of 8051. The major advantage of microcontroller is the built-in parallel ports. The parallel ports can be used to interface all the data converters like ADC and DACs and display devices like LED and LCDs. Any microcontroller based system needs to transfer data between external peripherals and microcontroller. The microcontroller needs to read data given by the user from the external interface, process it, and give the output to the peripherals or to the user again. To communicate data with the external devices, the microcontroller needs ports. These ports may support either parallel or serial data transfer. 8051 has 4 I/O ports, namely port 0, port 1, port 2 and port 3. The major constraint in microcontroller chip is the number of pins. To reduce the number of pins, the pins allotted for the parallel ports are assigned some alternate functions. Out of the available 4 parallel ports of 8051, port 1 is used exclusively for input and output functions. The other port pins have the functions other than input and output, that is 24 pins of port 0, port 2 and port 3 perform two different functions based on the commands or programs running. All the 4 ports are bidirectional ports, that is they can be used or programmed to have either input or output operation. All the 8 port pins are connected through 8 D-type port latches. One D-type latch connects the data in it to the port pin when the port is used as output port. The user can access all the 4 ports using their addresses mapped in the special function registers area. The parallel ports on port pins of 8051 is shown in below figure. This diagram consists of parallel ports along with port pins of 8051. From the diagram, port 1 is used as independent I/O port and port 0 used as I/O operation and used as multiplexed address and data lines, and port 2 used as I/O operation and carries or multiplexed higher order address lines A to A15, and port 3 used as I/O lines or used some alternate function, that is it can be used as either receive data operation or transmit data operation, and 2 external hardware interrupts and 2 timer signals and 2 control signals read and write operation. Along these port lines, some of the signals are connected with power supply and ground and ALE, EA bar, PACR bar and restart, and 2 crystal oscillator signals pins XTAL1 and XTAL2 are connected with a crystal oscillator by using 2 capacitors. So this is the connections of pins of 8051 along with parallel ports. Now let us see the structure of port 1. Here the port 1 address is 90H. The port 1 is only port in 8051 that is used exclusively for input and output operation. The output of port latch is connected to port pin through a transistor driver with internal pull-up resistor. The port can be operated as an input port after writing a logic 1 to the all bits of port 1 latch. The 8051 ports are organized such that most instructions read the data from the pin for read operation and some instructions read the data from the latch. The input buffer consists of select logic and related control signals, that is read latch and read pin, to distinguish between the instructions. The internal structure of port 1 is shown in below figure. This diagram consists of various blocks: output driver, latch, input buffer. The output driver can set the port pin can be used as either input port or output port by sending a logic 1 or logic 0. And latch can store the data and send it to the port pin or receive the data from the port pin. And the input buffer can select either read the data from the latch or pin. And the structure of port 0 on port 2. The port 0 address is 80H in SFR range and port 2 address is A0H. The pins of port 0 and port 2 can be used as either input port pins if logic 1 is returned to the corresponding port latches by the programmer. For using pins of port 0 and port 2 as output pins, a pull-up resistor may have to be connected to the corresponding port pins. The port 0 and port 2 have an alternate functions in addition to be used as either input and output ports. The port 0 and port 2 are used as address and data bus when external memory or I/O devices are accessed, and port 0 act as lower order address and data bus, that is AD0 to AD7, and port 2 act as only higher order address bus A8 to A15. The drivers of port 0 and port 2 have an internal multiplexer to perform this operation. The internal structure of port 0 and port 2 are shown in below figure. Now let us see the internal structure of port 0. So it is similar to the port 1, but in addition with one multiplexer is connected between latch and output driver. The multiplexer select that port pin can be used as either input port or output port, or can be used as either multiplexed address and data lines based upon the control line, that is select line of the MUX. If the latch can store the data or send the data depends upon the pin configuration. And the internal buffer, that is input buffer, can perform either read the data from read latch or read the data from pin. Now let us see the internal structure of port 2. It is similar to the port 2 0, but it consists of 8 address lines which are connected to port 2 A8 to A15. The function of this port is similar to the port 0. Now let us see the structure of port 3. The port 3 address is B0H in the SFR range. The port 3 is different from other ports in the aspect that individual port pins can be programmed for input and output operation. Each pin of port 3 can be programmed separately for input and output operation, all alternate functions. The alternate functions of port 3 is shown in below table. All the port 3 pins serve an alternate function according to the hardware signals and interfacing. So now port 3 pins can perform various operations. Those are port 3.0 can be used as RxD pin. This pin used to receive the data from the external interfacing. P3.1 pin used as TXT line. This line can transmit the data to the external device for serial communication. So that is P3.0 and 3.1. These two pins are used for serial communication operation. And P3.2 used as INT0 signal, that is external input 0, and P3.3 used as INT1 bar signal. So these two pins can allow the interrupt signals from external devices, so INT0 bar and INT1 bar. And P3.4 and 3.5, these two pins belongs to timer input signals. When the microcontroller can perform any timing operation, it requires some signals, clock signals. So these clock signals supplied to these two pins 3.4 and 3.5. And port 3.6 and 3.7 carries required control signals to access the external memory, so which can enable the data memory to perform either read and write operation by using these two pins. Now let us see the internal structure of port 3 pins shown in below figure. The alternate function can be activated only if data 1 is written into the port 3 bits. So the function of this port 3 consists of various blocks: output buffer, latch, input buffer. The alternate function can be decided by using a bit logic 1 is sent to the port 3 bits. Now let us see the alternate functions of port 3 lines. Regarding the port access, there are two possibilities for read operation. The read instruction for port can either read the port latch or port pins. All other instructions accessing the ports read the data from the port pins only. The example instructions that read the port latches are given: ANL P1, A. This instruction can perform logical AND operation with port 1 lines or port 1 bits with accumulator. ORL P2, A. This instruction perform logical OR operation with accumulator with P2 lines. XRL P3, A. This instruction perform exclusive OR gate operation from the bits from port 3 and accumulator. INC P0. This instruction increment the data from the port 0. DEC P1. This instruction decrement the content or data from the port 1. Next, JBC P1.1, delay. This is the bit manipulation instruction. If the corresponding bit from the port line P1.1 becomes set and clear, then it will execute the program from delay address. And CPL P3.0, this instruction complement the bit from P3.0 line. DJNZ P3, label. This instruction decrement the content from port 3 and it not equal 0 and go to the specified label. CLR P3.1, this instruction cleared the bit from port 3.1 line. Set B P1.2, this instruction set the bit from port 1.2 line. Move P2.2, C, this instruction copy the carry flag bit to the port 2.2 line. So these instructions can modify the data from the ports and depends upon the port bit can perform some other operation. So these instructions are used to modify the ports. Note that these instructions read the data from the port, modify the contents and write the data back to the ports. So the port latches are read and not the pins. Now let us see the interfacing of memory with 8051. The external memory interfaced to 8051 microcontroller can be divided into two types: external program memory and external data memory. The external memory access are accomplished with the port 0 and port 2 of 8051 microcontroller, as they serve as an multiplexed address and data buses. The external memory in 8051 is always accessed with 16-bit address. The 8051 send ALE signal, that is address latch enable signal, in order to demultiplex the lower order address and data lines from the port 0 lines. The 8051 microcontroller send PSEN bar, that is program store enable signal for external program memory interfacing with RD bar and WR bar on the port 3.7 and 3.6 lines for external data memory interfacing. That is PSEN bar for enable the external program memory and RD bar and WR bar are signals are connected to external data memory interfacing. Now let us see the external program memory interfacing with 8051 microcontroller. The program memory can be placed outside the chip, that is microcontroller, in addition to the internal program memory. The complete program memory can be placed outside the chip, neglecting the internal program memory. Applying a proper voltage level on the input line, that is EA bar of 8051, can do the selection of any of the above two methods. Connecting EA bar to the ground will disable the internal program memory, and the program memory access are done to the external memory. The read strobe signal given by the microcontroller, that is PSEN bar. This active low signal is connected to the read selection line of the external program memory chip. Connecting EA bar pin of 8051 to the logic 1 or plus 5 volts will program the microcontroller to use the internal program memory for addresses starting address from 0000H. After the available internal memory is used completely, then the external program memory is accessed. If EA bar equals 0, that is the internal program memory is not accessed. If EA bar is connected to logic 1 or plus 5 volts, then internal program memory is accessed from address 0000H to 0FFFFH, that is 4 KB internal program memory. After accessing internal program memory, and external program memory is accessed for address greater than, that is 0FFFH location. Now the below figure shows the hardware signal connection for interfacing external program memory to the 8051 microcontroller. This diagram consists of external program memory and microcontroller and a latch device and decoder. From the microcontroller, port 0 and port 2 carries address lines. These address lines are connected to external program memory, and the data lines are also connected to program memory, and a control signal, that is PSEN bar, is connected to enable the read operation of program memory, that is RD signal. And some of the address lines are given to the decoder. The decoder decodes that address lines and generate a signal called chip select signal. This signal is connected to raw memory device. So this is the interfacing connection of microcontroller with external program memory when EA bar is connected to logic 0 or ground. Now let us consider one example. Design an interface circuit to connect a 16 KB EPROM, that is IC 27128 chip to the microcontroller 8051. The IC 27128 has a 16 KB of memory registers, that is it is a 16 KB memory locations. So the 14 address lines are required to select the one memory location of 16 KB. The first step in interfacing is to select the address range for the chip to be used. The address map of the IC 27128 is selected as 0000H to 3FFFH. The most significant bits of microcontroller A15 and A14 are used to decode the chip, that is it can enable the chip. For decoding purpose, a 2 to 4 decoder chip, that is IC 74139, is used. The connection diagram of this example is shown in below figure. The 8-bit latch or register IC 74373 is used to demultiplex the lower order address and data bus, that is AD0 to AD7, and OE bar is the data read enable line of the IC 27128, and it is connected to the PSEN bar signal of the microcontroller. So this is the connection diagram for interfacing external program memory, that is EPROM IC 27128 to the microcontroller is shown in below figure. From the diagram, the microcontroller port 0 and port 2 carries 16-bit address and 8-bit data bus. If AL equal to 1, which can enable the latch can store the lower order address bus from the port 0. If AL equal to 0, the port 0 carries data lines. These data lines are connected to ROM memory chip. And the port 2 carries higher order address bus. So from 16-bit address from the port 0 and port 2 is connected to the memory chip. Here the memory chip is 16 KB memory. So only 14 address lines are required. These 14 address lines are connected to the chip, that is A0 to A13 of the microcontroller, connected to 14 address lines of the memory chip. On remaining two address lines A14 and A15 are given to the decoder IC 74139. This decoder decodes that address lines and generate a output signal to select the chip, that is CS bar. And the microcontroller signal PSEN bar is directly connected to output enable line of the chip to perform the read operation. That is, the program memory can allows only read operation. To enable that operation, PSEN bar is directly connected to the output enable pin of the chip. So this is the interfacing connection of IC with microcontroller device. Now let us see the external data memory interfacing with 8051 microcontroller. The data memory in the system should be random access memory, as it should facilitate both read and write operation of the data. The external data memory is interfaced with 8051 in the same way as the external program memory is interfaced with 8051. But the major difference is that the read and write operations can be done in external data memory, that is RAM memory, and only read operation is possible in only program memory called ROM memory. The control signals for reading and writing to the data memory are available from port 3 pins 3.6 and 3.7, where 3.6 carries the write signal and 3.7 carries the read signal. A decoder logic is necessary to select the chip based on higher order address lines. So this is the diagram shows hardware signal connections for interfacing external data memory to 8051 microcontroller. From this diagram, the port 0 and port 2 of the controller can carry the 16-bit address lines. These 16 address lines are connected to RAM chip, and data lines from the port 0 is directly connected to data lines of the RAM memory. And some of the higher order address lines are given to the decoder, decode that address and generate a signal called CS bar. And port 3.6 and 3.7 lines a control signals read bar and write bar. These signals are connected to RAM read and write signals. So this logic diagram is connected to interface external memory data memory with microcontroller, that is EA bar is always connected to 0. If EA bar is connected to 0 means then only the controller can access the data from external memory. If EA bar is connected to logic 1, the controller can access the data from internal memory. Now let us consider one example, that is design an interface circuit to connect an 8 KB RAM chip, that is 6264, with starting address of that RAM C000H. The IC 6264 has 8 KB of static RAM. So 13 address lines are required to select that memory location of the chip. The first step in interfacing is to select the address range for the chip to be used. The address range for the RAM chip is selected as C000H to DFFFFH. The most significant bits A14 and A15 are used to decode and select the memory chip. The bits A14 and A15 are the at logic high for the given address range is selected. So a 224 decoder chip, that is IC74139, is used and Y3 bar output is made active low when both A14 and A15 lines are at logic high for given address range. This Y3 bar output signal is used to active low chip enable of the IC6264. The data read enable line of IC6264 is OE bar signal, which is connected to P3.7 port output of 8051, and write enable signal WE bar input of IC6264 is connected to 3.6 port output of 8051. The 8-bit latch or register, that is IC74373, is used to demultiplex the lower order address and data lines AD0 to AD7. This is the connection diagram for interfacing RAM chip IC6462 to 8051 microcontroller is shown in below figure. From this diagram, port 0 and port 2 carries the address lines A0 to A15. Depends upon the size of RAM, number of address lines are connected to the chip. Here the RAM size is 8 KB memory, so only 13 address lines are required, that is A0 to A12 lines are connected to memory chip, and 8 data lines from the microcontroller is connected to 8 data lines of the chip. And higher order address lines A14 and A15, here in this case for the given address range, these two lines are logic 1. So the decoder decode that information and enable the Y3 output. This Y3 output is active low signal which can enable the chip IC6264. And port 3.6 and 3.7, these two signals carries the control signals to perform either read and write operation from the memory. So that is P3.6 signal carries the write signal which can enable the write enable pin of IC, and P3.7 carries the read signal RD bar which can enable the output enable pin of the IC. So to perform this operation, the microcontroller pin EA bar is connected to ground, so to access the external data memory. So this is the interfacing of IC6462 with microcontroller. Now let us see another topic, 8051 timers. The 8051 has with two 16-bit timers, both of which may be controlled or set or read and configured individually. The 8051 timers have three general functions. Those are: the timers are programmed and predefined length of time and then issuing an interrupt signal. And timers can be used for counting the transitions of the clock signal from external pin and generating baud rates for serial port. So these are the three functions provided by the timer in 8051. Basically, the timers are digital counters which are incremented at the clock pulses given to it. The timers can be controlled to do any of their function through 4 SFRs called T-mode register, TCON register, TL0, TH0, TH1 and TL1 registers. The timers will have overflow when it counts to a maximum value and reset to 0 upon next clock pulse. The overflow in these timers will set the 2 bits in TCON register, where TCON represents timer control register. This overflow can be programmed to interrupt the microcontroller execution and execute a predefined subroutine called interrupt service routine. If the timer registers are incremented by internal clock pulses from 8051 microcontroller then the operation is called as timing operation or timer. The same timer registers get their clock pulses from the external device through port 3 pins of 8051 microcontroller. Then the operation is called counting operation or counter. So to differentiate, the timer can be used as either timing operation or counting operation based on clock pulses applied to the timer. If clock pulses applied to the timer from the internal oscillator, then it can act as timer. If clock pulses applied from the external source through port 3 pins, then it can act as a counter operation. The timer 0 external input pin 3.4 is used as a clock signal input for the timer 0 to act as counter, and timer 1 external input pin 3.5 is used as a clock signal pin from the external device, and the timer 1 act as a counter. So 3.4 and 3.5, these two pins used as timer input signals which can allow the clock signals from the external device, then the timer used as a counter. The 8051 has two timers and each of them will have similar operation and functions. The timer in 8051 is basically a 16-bit register which can be incremented depending upon the clock pulses applied to the timer. These timer registers are configured as a special function registers. These SFRs at any time has the timer or counter register content. So the timers can be stopped at any time and contents can be read from these timers. The maximum value a timer may have, that is 65535, or FFFFH, that is 16-bit register which can count the maximum value 16 once. In hexadecimal FFFF0, FFH, and in decimal 65 and 535. If timer contains the value, the maximum value 65535, and subsequently it is incremented based on next clock pulse, it will reset to 0 with the indication of overflow called as a timer overflow condition. One timer is called timer 0 and other timer is called timer 1. Each timer also has two 8-bit timer registers, namely TH0 and TL0 belongs to timer 0, and TH1 and TL1, these two timers belongs to timer 1. Now let us see the format of timer mode register. T mode register, it is SFR register, the address is 89H. The T mode register is used to control the mode of operation of the both timers, and each bit of the register gives the microcontroller specific information and how to run a timer. The higher order 4 bits, that is bit 4 to 7, belongs to the timer 1 operation, and lower order 4 bits 0 to 3 performs the same function for timer 0. So the T mode register is a 8-bit register. From 8-bit register, only lower order 4 bits belongs to perform the timer operation for timer 0, and upper 4 bits belongs to decides the timer operation for timer 1. Now let us see the bit format of this T mode register. M1 and M0 from lower 4 bits and upper 4 bits. These two bits decides the mode of operation of the timer. So based upon the 2 bits, the timer 0 or timer 1 operated in different modes: mode 0, mode 1, mode 2, and mode 3. In these 4 modes, timer 0 is operated in all modes, but timer 1 is operated in only 3 modes. When M1 and M0, these two bits are 0, 0, the both timers can be used as 13-bit timer. From 13-bit, lower 5 bits belongs to TL0 or TL1 of the timer, and upper 8 bits belongs to TH0 or TH1. So that is, in mode 0, the 16-bit timer used as a 13-bit timer. So TLX act as a 5-bit prescaler. When these two bits are 0, 1, belongs to mode 1 operation. In mode 1, the timers used as 16-bit timer are counter, that is THX and TLX are cascaded to get 16-bit operation and no prescaler. When M1 and M0, these two bits are 10, mode 2 operation is selected. In mode 2 operation, both timers, timer 0 and timer 1 is operated as 8-bit auto reload timer. In this mode, THX contents are loaded into the TLX when it is overflows. When these two bits are 1 1, only timer 0 is operated in mode 3. In timer 0, TL0 used as 8-bit timer controlled by timer 0 control bits, and TH0 used as 8-bit timer controlled by timer 1 control bits, and timer 1 is not used in mode 3 operation. Now let us see the format of timer control register. It is SFR register. The SFR address is 88H. The TC1 register controls the timers and provides valuable information about the timers called TCON, timer control register. Only 4 bits of the TCON register are defined for timing operation, and other 4 bits belongs to interrupt operation. The individual bits of TCON register can be addressed separately by using bit addresses. So TCON is the bit addressable register. Among 8 bits, only upper 4 bits are used to control the timer operation. Those are TR0, TR1, TF0, TF1. TR0, TR1, these two bits belongs to timer run bits. We want to start the timing operation, these two bits becomes logic 1. To stop the timing operation, these two bits becomes logic 0. And TF0 and TF1, these two bits belongs to overflow bits. When corresponding timer becomes overflow, this bit becomes set. That is to indicate the overflow condition of the timer 0 and timer 1. And lower 4 bits belongs to interrupt operation, that is IE1, IE0, IT1, IT2, IE, IT0. Now let us see the timer operating modes. The two system-bit timers of 8051 can be operated in any one of the 4 operating modes. The mode selection bits can be done by setting the proper bits of T mode register. Those are M1 and M0, and these two bits are 00. Timer mode is selected in mode 0. It acts as a 13-bit timer, and 0-1 combination, the timer is selected in operated in mode 1. In mode 1, it uses as 16-bit timer, and 2 bits are 10. Mode 2 is selected. In mode 2, the timer is used as 8-bit auto reload operation, and both are 1-1. Mode 3 operation is selected, and in this mode, split timer mode of operation is operated. Now let us see the various operating modes of timer 0 and timer 1. So timer 0 is operated in all modes 0 to 3, and timer 1 is operated only in 0, 1 and 2. This is the generalized diagram for timer 0 operation. From this diagram, whether the timer can be used as either timing operation or counting operation depends upon the bit C by T bar from the T mode register. If C by T bar equal to 0, it can be act as a timer operation and receive the clock pulses from the internal oscillator of the controller. If C by T bar equal to 1, indicates that the timer used as counting operation, and it can receive the clock pulses from external pin, that is T0 pin belongs of the port 3 line, and these clock pulses are given to the timer depends upon the AND gate output. This AND gate output becomes logic 1, the gate will closes, and clock pulses are given to the timer or counter. This gate is operated by using 3 signals, TR0, gate and INT bar pin. TR0 belongs to timer 0 run operation when this bit is always 1 to perform the timer 0 run operation, and gate signal always 1, this gate bit is 1 in the T mode register, and INT bar signal becomes logic 1. So based upon these 3 bits combinations, the AND gate output is logic 1 when it can closes the gate. Then these clock pulses are given to the timer. The timer starts counting and reaches to maximum value. Upon next count or next clock pulses, the timer becomes overflow. The corresponding bit in the TCON, that is TF0, becomes set and generate a interrupt signal to the controller. Such interrupt called as a timer 0 interrupt. Now let us see the timer 1 operation. It is similar to the timer 0 operation, except that the TL0 replaced with TL1 and TH0 replaced with TH1. Here the T1 pin can allow the clock pulses from external devices, and TR1 belongs to timer 1 bit, and INT1 bar belongs to timer 1 operation. So depends upon the C by T bar signal, the timer can receive the clock pulses from the internal source or external source, and depends upon the TR1 gate INT1 bar pins, the gate will closes the AND gate will closes the gate and allow the clock pulses to the timer or counter. When the timer reaches to maximum value, upon next clock pulses, it becomes reset and corresponding bit in the TCON, that is TF1, becomes set. When this bit equal to 1, the timer generate a interrupt signal called timer 1 interrupt signal, which can interrupt the controller. Now let us see the various operating modes of timer in detail. Mode 0 operation. In mode 0, the timer used as 13-bit timer operation. Timer mode 0 is a 13-bit timer. Out of 16 bits of the timer, only 13 bits are used. The 5 bits of lower order byte is used, and 8 bits of higher order byte of the timer are used in mode 0. The lower order byte TL0 or TL1 will count maximum value 0 to 31. When TL0 or TL1 is incremented from 31, it will become reset to 0 and increment TH0 or TH1. So the timer can only contains or count the maximum value 8192. That is from 0 to 8192. The timer can be operated as a timer with internal clock pulses or as a counter with external clock pulses. This selection is done by D2 bit of T mode register for timer 0 and D6 bit of register timer 1, that is C by T bar bit. The clock pulses selected by D2 and D6 bits of T mode register is then controlled by a programmer setting and connected to the timer registers. This control is done by using 3 different methods. First is the timer run control bit TR0 and TR1 of TCON register. The timer will run only when the timer run control bit becomes 1. The other controls for the timer are through gate control bits D4 and D7 of the T mode register and external inputs, that is INT0 bar and INT1 bar. Setting gate to 1 allows the timer to count only if the external count input INT0 bar, INT1 bar is set to 1. Setting to gate 0 will disable the corresponding external timer control inputs INT0 and INT1. Setting the timer to mode 0 will overflow back to 0 after 8192 counts. This will set the TF1 and TF0 bits of timer 1 and timer 0 respectively. So this is a generalized diagram for mode 0 for timer 0. So this diagram consists of various blocks. Here the timer used as 13-bit timer. Among 13-bit, TL0 contains only 5 bits, TH0 contains 8 bits. When TL0 reaches to maximum value, that is 0 to 31, upon next clock pulse it becomes reset to 0 and enable the TH0. So this 13-bit timer counts maximum value 8192. Upon next clock pulse, this timer becomes overflow which can enable the flag TF0 bit set and interrupt signal generated to the controller. So these clock pulses are given to the timer depends upon the C by T bar pin, C by T bar bit. If this bit equals 0, you can receive the clock pulses from the internal source. Here the timer used as timing operation. If C by T bar equal to 1 and receive the clock pulses from external source by using T0 pin. And to allow the clock pulses to the timer by using 3 bits TR0, gate and INT0 pin. These 3 pins are decides whether the clock pulses are given to the timer or not. So TR0 always 1 to run the timer and gate bit always 1 and INT bar becomes 1. So based upon these 3 bits, the gate output can closes the gate and allow the clock pulses and given to the timer. Now let us do the timer 1 operation. This operation is similar to the timer 0 except that here TL1 and TH0 are used in place of TL0 and TH0. Here the flag TF1 enable or set becomes when timer 1 becomes overflow. It reaches to maximum value upon next clock pulse. The TF1 flag is set, which can enable the interrupt or generate interrupt signal to the controller. Now let us see the mode 1 operation, that is 16-bit timer operation. In timer mode 1 of 8051, each timer is operated as 16-bit timer. It functions just like mode 0 except that all 16 bits are used. Mode 1 uses 16 bits. The counter will count from 0 to 65,535 value. The clock pulses are applied to the lower order 8 bits and then overflow from this lower order byte will counted by the higher order byte. That is TL0 or TL1 bits are incremented from 0 to 255. When TL0 or TL1 incremented from 255, it reaches to 0 and causes TH0 or TH1 to be incremented by 1. Since this is the full 16-bit timer, the timer may contains 65,536 values. The control of gating and running the timer in mode 1 is similar to that of mode 0 operation. The timer operation in mode 1 and control of its gating are similar to mode 0 as shown in below figure. Here the 13-bit timer in mode 0 replaced by 16-bit timer in mode 1. Here the 16-bit timer counts reaches the maximum value, that is 16 ones or FFFFH. Upon next clock pulse, this timer becomes overflow. The overflow flag is set in the TCON register. This flag generates an interrupt signal to the controller. Similarly, timer 1 is operated in mode 1. Here timer 1 consists of two 8-bit registers TL1 and TH1. When this timer reaches to maximum value, upon next clock pulse, the timer 1 becomes overflow, which can enable the flag TF1 in the TCON register. This flag can generate interrupt signal to the controller. Such interrupt called as a timer interrupt, timer 0 interrupt or timer 1 interrupt. Now let us see mode 2 operation, that is 8-bit timer auto reload mode. The timer in mode 2 is an 8-bit auto reload mode. When timer is in mode 2, TH0 or TH1 holds the value called reload value and TL0 or TL1 is used as a 8-bit timer. TL0 or TL1 starts counting and overflow from TL0 or TL1 after counting up to 255 and set the bits TF0 or TF1 in the TCON register, and also reload the timer register TL0 or TL1 with the contents from the TH0 or TH1. The reload does not affect the TH0 or TH1 and leaves it unchanged. For example, let us say TH0 holds the value FDH and TL0 holds the value FEH. Then At the next counting clock pulses, TL0 will be incremented to FFH. Then for the next clock pulse, TL0 will becomes overflow and should have becomes to 00H. But it is reloaded mode. The TL0 will be loaded with new value, that is TH value, that is FDH. This value of TH0 will never be changed. That is TH0 or TH1 is set to a known value, and TL0, TL1 in the SFR that constantly incremented. The auto reload mode is very commonly used for generating baud rate for serial communication. So the mode 2 operation used to generate baud rate depends upon the value loaded into the TH0 or TH1. The control of gating and running of the timer in mode 2 is similar to that of mode 0 and is shown in below figure. Now let us see the timer 0 in mode 2 operation. Here the 8-bit timer or counter with R2 reload function. Here only TL0 used to performing incrementing operation, and TH0 contains some preloaded value. This value is reloaded when TL0 becomes overflow. And if TL0 becomes overflow, the corresponding flag TF0 is set and enable the interrupt signal. Here the TL0 reaches the maximum value FFH. Upon next clock pulses, instead of going to 00, it will reloaded with new value from TH0 value. So that's why it is called as a auto reload value. So this type of operation used in the generation of baud rate for serial communication. Similarly for timer 1 in mode 2, same operation. TL0 becomes overflow. Upon next clock pulse, the new value is reloaded from TH1 register. When it becomes overflow, the TF1 flag is set and generate interrupt signal. Here the timer can be used as a timer or counter, depends upon the C by T bar bit. And the timer can allow the clock pulses depends upon the 3 signals TR1, gate and INT1 pins. Now let us see mode 3 operation, split timer mode. Mode 3 of 8051 timer is a split timer mode and is applicable only for timer 0 only, and timer 1 is not used in mode 3. When timer 0 is placed in mode 3, it is essentially becomes two separate 8-bit timers. That is, timer 0 is TL0 and timer 1 is TH0. In this mode, TL0 used as timer 0, TH0 used as timer 1. Both timers count from 0 to 255 and overflow back to 0. In mode 3, all the bits that are related to real timer 1 will simply holds the content or count value and will not run, and the situation is similar to keeping TR1 is 0. In split timer mode of timer 0, the real timer 1, that is TH1 and TL1, cannot be started or stopped since the bits that do not linked to the TH0. The real timer 1 in this case will be incremented every machine cycle or clock pulse. When the two separate timers in addition to a baud rate generator is required in an application, then real timer 1 can be used as a baud rate generator, and TH0 or TL0 can be used as a two separate timers in mode 3. Now let us see the mode 3 operation for timer 0. Here timer 0 is divided into two 8-bit timers, TL0 and TH0. Both are working independently. When timer 0 TL0 becomes overflow, the TF0 flag is set and generate interrupt signal. Similarly, TH0 becomes overflow, the TF1 flag is set. So in this case, TL0 used as a timer 0, which can enable the flag TF0. TH0 used as timer 1, which can enable the TF1 flag. So two interrupt signals are generated when two timers becomes overflows. Now let us see another topic, interrupts in 8051. 8051 basically has the following 5 interrupt sources, so that any of the following interrupts will make 8051 to execute a separate program called interrupt service routine. So there are 5 interrupts are available in 8051. Those are timer 0 overflow or timer 0 interrupt, that is called TF0, timer 1 overflow or timer 1 interrupt, TF1, serial port interrupt, TI or RI, external hardware interrupt 0, IE0, external hardware interrupt 1, IE1. Different interrupt sources have to be distinguished, and 8051 microcontroller must execute a different program called ISR depending on which the interrupt was enabled. This is accomplished by jumping or calling to a fixed address when interrupt occur. These addresses are called interrupt vector addresses or interrupt handler addresses. The below table shows the list of interrupt vector addresses for total 5 interrupts. The each interrupt represented by using a flag in the register. If any interrupt occur, then the controller go to the specified address called interrupt vector address. That is, for external 0 interrupt, IE0 flag is set if the interrupt is occurred. This bit is available in TCYN register. If this bit equal to 1, then the controller go to that specified address, that is 0003H. From this address, the controller execute a program called ISR. When timer 0 interrupt enable, that is timer 0 overflow occurs, this interrupt is generated, that is TF0 flag is set. When this bit equal to set, then the controller transfers the control to the address called interrupt vector address 000BH. From this address, the controller execute a program called ISR. Similarly, external 1 interrupt occurs, the E1 bit set, and the controller transfers the control to the address 0013H. And timer 1 interrupt occur based on timer 1 overflow condition. TF1 flag is set and transfer the control to the address 001BH, from where the controller can execute the program called ISR. And serial port interrupt is generated when the controller can receive a byte of data or transmit a byte of data, that is RI and TI, and transfer the control to the specified address 0023H. So these are the various address locations contains ISR programs. When corresponding interrupt occur, the controller can execute ISR program from the address specified address. Whenever timer 0 interrupts occur, that is TF0 bit is set, the main program will be temporarily stopped by the microcontroller, and controller execute a separate program from the address 000BH. Now it is assumed that the service routine at address 0003H handles the purpose of external 0 interrupt. Upon reset of the microcontroller, all interrupts are disabled or masked. That is, none of the interrupts will be responded by the microcontroller if they are activated. The interrupts must be enabled by the software or instruction in order for the microcontroller to respond to the interrupts. There is a register called interrupt enable register that is responsible for enabling or disabling the interrupts. Now let us see the format of interrupt enable register. It is a SFR register. The SFR address is A8H. From this format, D7 bit belongs to EA, that is enable all interrupts. It acts as a global interrupt enable or disable bit. If this bit equal to 0, disable all interrupt request, and 1, enable all individual interrupt request. So based upon this bit, either 0 or 1, whether the controller can accept the interrupt or disable the interrupt. Next bit, ES bit, that belongs to bit enable or disable serial interrupt. If this bit equals 0, the device UART cannot generate such interrupt called serial interrupt. If it is 1, the UART system enables the interrupt signal called serial interrupt. If ET1 bit enables or disables the timer 1 interrupt, if it is 0, timer 1 cannot generate an interrupt. If it is 1, timer 1 generate interrupt based on overflow condition. EX1 bit enables or disables the external 1 interrupt. If this bit equals 0, is there any changes in the pin INT1 bar does not generate interrupt. If it is 1, then enables the external interrupt signal when INT bar signal becomes changes. ET0 bit enables or disables the timer 0 interrupt. If it is 0, timer 0 cannot generate interrupt. If it is 1, timer 0 generate interrupt becomes overflow. When it overflows, the timer 0 interrupt is generated. Now EX0 bit enables or disables the external 0 interrupt. If it is 0, any changes in the INT0 bar pin cannot generate interrupt. If it is 1, is there any change in the interrupt pin? It can allow the interrupt. Now let us see the priorities of the interrupts on polling sequence. The 8051 automatically evaluates whether an interrupt occurs after every instruction. When checking for interrupt condition, it checks them in the following priority order. Among 5 interrupts, external 0 interrupt is highest priority and serial port interrupt is the lowest priority. So it depends upon the priority order. If the interrupt having highest priority, then the controller handle that interrupt. So the above list gives the interrupt priority order. Whenever external 0 interrupt and timer 1 interrupt occur simultaneously, then the 8051 controller execute the interrupt having highest priority among these two, that is external 0 interrupt is the highest priority, and execute ISR program of that interrupt. After completion of this ISR program, again the controller handle that next priority interrupt, that is timer 1 interrupt, and execute that program related to the timer 1 interrupt. Now let us see the 8051 offers 2 levels of interrupt priorities, high and low level priorities. By using interrupt priorities, the above interrupts can be divided into 2 separate interrupt priorities. So the 5 interrupts can be again prioritized. The interrupt priorities are controlled by a register called interrupt priority register, that is IP register. For example, if serial port interrupt is the lowest priority from the table, you want to set that priority highest priority by using IP register. So the interrupt serial port interrupt much more important, that is highest priority than timer 0 interrupt, by changing the bit in the IP register. So this is done by assigning high priority to the serial port interrupt and low priority is assigned to the timer 0 interrupt. By setting the bit D4 bit in the IP register to 1, that belongs to serial port interrupt having highest priority, and by making lowest priority to the timer 0 interrupt, D1 bit is 0. Here D1 bit belongs to timer 0 interrupt priority. So we have to alter that priority order by programming IP register. Note that the priority can be set individually by using the bit address of the IP register. For example, if timer 0 interrupt priority can be made becomes highest priority by setting D1 bit of IP register. So the following instructions can be used to perform this operation to set highest priority for timer 0 interrupt. So the IP register is a bit addressable register. We have to change that corresponding bit or modify the corresponding bit by using bit addressable register. Set PT0. This instruction enable the highest priority for timer 0 in the IP register. or set B B9H, where B9H is the bit address of the corresponding timer 0 interrupt, or move IP comma as 82H. This instruction perform the same operation, that is you can set the timer 0 interrupt having highest priority. So by using the whenever the controller execute any one of this instruction, automatically the timer 0 interrupt having highest priority. Now let us see the enter priority register format. CTG SFR register, the address is B8H. It is a bit addressable register. You want to set or reset corresponding bit by using address of the register. Here the D7 bit indicates A bit enable interrupts. If this bit equal to 1, it can enable the priority of that interrupts. If it is 0, disable the priority of the interrupts. And D5 and D6 are not used, called undefined bits. And D4 bit belongs to priority of serial interrupt. If it is 1, that indicates that the serial interrupt is the highest priority. D3 bit belongs to PT1, priority of timer 1 interrupt. D2 bit belongs to PX1, priority of external 1 interrupt. D1 bit becomes PT0, priority of timer 0 interrupt. D0 bit becomes external 0 interrupt priority. So from the table, from the register format, if only one bit is set, then the corresponding interrupt is having highest priority. If more than one bit is set, then the controller goes to the priority order from the table and handle that interrupt. When considering interrupt priorities, the following rules apply. A high priority interrupt may interrupt the low priority interrupt. A low priority interrupt may only occur if no other interrupt is already executing. If two interrupts occurs at the same time, the interrupt with higher priority will execute first. If both interrupts are of the same priority, the priority which is serviced first by polling sequence will be executed first. The complete structure of the 8051 interrupt can be well understood by using below figure. The 5 interrupt sources are first passed through the register IE register, which decides the enable or disabling of the interrupts, and the global enable interrupt signal is also shown in the diagram. The IP register set 2 priority levels among the available interrupts. This is also shown in the diagram as high priority and low priority blocks. The bits IT0 and IT1 can be set by using TCYN register, and this is used to select whether the hardware interrupt is level triggered or edge triggered interrupt. So this is the diagram showing the structure of 8051 interrupts. So this diagram allows 5 interrupts by using different sources. 2 interrupts belongs to external interrupts INT0 and INT1. So these 2 interrupts may be either level triggered interrupt or edge triggered interrupt, depends upon the IT0 and IT1 bits of TCYN register. If IT0 equal to 1, then the controller can accept that interrupt signal as a edge triggered interrupt, 0 level triggered interrupt. And 2 interrupt signals belongs to timer 0 and timer 1. So when these 2 timers becomes overflow, the 2 bits TF0 and TF1 becomes set, which can allow the interrupt to the controller. And 1 serial port interrupt. The serial port interrupt may be either receive interrupt or transmit interrupt. This interrupt is generated based upon the receiving a byte or transmitting a byte. So these 5 interrupts are given to the IE register. When IE register global enable input is 1, it can allow the interrupt signals. If it is 0, ignore all the interrupts. After allowing these all interrupts from IE register and given to the IP register, from IP register depends upon the bits becomes set or reset. If it is IP register becomes logic 1, the corresponding interrupt is sent to the highest priority block. If the interrupt becomes logic 0, those interrupts are given to the lower priority block. In the higher priority block, the interrupt which is being serviced first. In lowest priority block, the interrupts which are being serviced next. This is about the structure of 8051 interrupts. Now let us see the TCYN register called SFR address 88H. This TCYN register timer control register consists of 8 bits. Lower 4 bits belongs to interrupt operation and upper 4 bits belongs to timer operation. D0 bit belongs to IT0. When this bit is equal to 0, that is interrupt 0 signal set to 1, that belongs to it act as a edge triggered or 0 level triggered signal. IE0 signal is equal to 1 when external interrupt signal is applied. That is INT0 becomes 0. IT0 signal set or reset depends upon the interrupt applied either edge triggered or level triggered. So IE1 becomes set if external interrupt signal is detected. And TR0, TR1, these two bits belongs to timer 0 run bit and timer 1 run bits. So these two bits are 1 to perform the timer operation. And TF0 and TF1, these two bits are set by using hardware, that is timer 0 overflow condition occurs, timer 1 overflow condition occurs. When overflow occurs, these two bits are set. So this is about the TCYN register format. Now let us see serial ports of 8051. One of the important feature of 8051 is its integrated universal asynchronous receiver and transmitter. It is also known as serial port. With integrated serial port of 8051 microcontroller, the data can be transmitted or received by reading and writing data to the serial port registers. Now let us see the features of 8051 serial ports. It provides full duplex transmission or receive operation and perform receive buffered operation and access using single double buffered register and provides 4 different modes of operations and option to use a fixed baud rate or programmable baud rate generation. Now the full duplex serial port means that it can transmit and receive the data simultaneously. The transmission is initiated by writing a data to the serial buffer register and received data can be read from the serial buffer register. The data to be transmitted are written to the serial buffer register and data received by the serial port and read from the serial buffer register. That is, reading and writing serial buffer register actually access 2 separate registers. This technique of having same address for 2 different registers is called double buffering. Now let us see serial port control registers for serial port operation. The serial ports of 8051 is controlled by 2 registers in SFR area of 8051. The 2 registers are called serial port control register SCYN and serial port buffer register SBUF. There are 2 addresses are reserved for 2 registers. SCYN address is 98H and serial buffer register is 99H. In addition to the above 2 registers, the MSB bit of PCYN, that is power control register, called SMOD bit, is used to decide double the baud rate or single baud rate for serial communication and receiving operation. If SMOD bit is equal to 1, then the baud rate is doubled. If it is 0, the normal baud rate is generated. The individual bits of SCYN register have the functions as shown in table below. As the SCYN register has many individual status bits, the individual bits of this register are bit addressable. The bit address is also given in the table. The programmer can use these bit addresses to check the status of this serial port and set the mode of operation individually. Now let us see the bit format of SCYN register. Here the D7 and D6 bits belongs to serial port mode selection bits. These 2 bits decides mode of operation of serial port D5 bit belongs to multi-processor communication enable bit, that is SM2. D4 bit belongs to REN, receive enable bit. This bit must be set to receive a character. And D3 bit belongs to TB8, that is transmit bit 8. The ninth bit to be transmitted in mode 2 and mode 3. And D2 bit RB8, this bit is set, that is receive bit 8 set, that is ninth bit received in mode 2 and mode 3. And D1, D0 belongs to interrupts TA and RI. The transmit interrupt flag set when a byte has been completely transmitted, and receive interrupt flag set when byte has been completely received. Now let us see the bit formats of this serial control register. Here D7, D6 bits belongs to operating modes of the serial port SM0 and SM1. So these two bits provides the 4 operating modes described in table below. When these two bits 0, 0, the serial mode 0 operation is selected. In this mode, the serial port acts as 9-bit shift register. In this mode, the baud rate is fixed, that depends on frequency of oscillator by 12. And the 2 bits 0, 1, mode 1 is selected. In mode 1, the serial port acts as 8-bit UART. In this mode, the baud rate is variable. And these 2 bits becomes 1, 0. Mode 2 is selected. In mode 2, the serial port acts as 9-bit UART. In this operation, the baud rate is fixed, that is frequency of oscillator by 64 or frequency of oscillator by 32. Next, when both bits are 1, 1, serial mode 3 is selected. In this mode, the serial port acts as 9-bit UART. The baud rate is variable. The next bit SM2 is a flag used for enabling multiprocessor communication in mode 2 and mode 3. If SM2 bit is set to 1 in mode 2 and mode 3, the interrupt flag will not be activated if received ninth data bit is 0. If SM2 is set to 1 in mode 1, the receive interrupt flag will not be activated if valid stop bit is not received. So this bit used for advanced serial applications. Now it can be assumed that SM2 bit has to be cleared. So the RI flag will be set when any character is received in mode 2 and mode 3 and mode 1. The next bit REN, receiver enable. This bit is set in order to receive the character from the receive data line of the serial port. The bit TB8 and RB8 bits are used in mode 2 and mode 3 operation. In mode 2 and mode 3 operations, the total of 9 bits data bits are transmitted and received. The programmer must store 9th bit to be transmitted into TB8 bit, and RB8 bit holds the 9th bit received. The TI means transmit interrupt. When programmer writes a data to the serial port buffer register, then the serial port will start shifting this data in the serial transmit line TXT line bit by bit at the predefined clock speed or baud rate. The 8051 will issue TI signal to the programmer after sending the data completely. Upon sensing the TI bit set to 1, the programmer can write the next data for the transmission. When TI bit is set, the programmer may assume that the serial port is free and ready to send the next byte. And the RI bit means that receive interrupt. Whenever the data is received on the receive data line RxD of the serial port, this serial data will be shifted into the buffer register and stored into the serial buffer register. Setting of RA bit indicates that a byte has been received. Upon sensing the RA bit set to 1, the programmer read the data from the serial buffer register. Now let us see operating modes of serial port from the diagram. Bits SM0, SM1 are used to set the serial mode to a value between 0 to 3. That is, serial mode bits select the mode of the operation and also determine how the baud rate will be calculated. In mode 0 and mode 2, the baud rate is fixed based on oscillator's frequency. In mode 1 and mode 3, the baud rate is variable based on timer 1 overflows. The basic operation of serial port of 8051 is shown in below table. Here, the serial buffer register performs two operations, that is transmit buffer and receive buffer. Whenever the controller can transmit the data through a transmit buffer by using transmit clock signal, and receive buffer receive the data by using receive clock signal. So the data transmitted by using internal data bus of the microcontroller. Here the serial buffer register is basically two registers with the same address, that is 99H. When the data to be transmitted is written to the serial buffer register, then it will be shifted bit by bit into the TXD line of the microcontroller, that is P3.1 act as a TXD line, and the shifting is done by the transmit clock, which determines the baud rate. Similarly, when the data bits are received on the RxD line, that is P3.0, the bits are shifted serially into the shift register according to the receive clock. After reception is complete, the data received will be placed on serial buffer register, from where it can be read by the programmer through internal bus. Now let us see the various modes of operations. First one, mode 0 operation. In this mode, the serial data is entered through TXD line and exits to RxD line. In mode 0, full duplex operation is not possible. That is, both transmission and receive operation cannot take place simultaneously. The TXD pin send the clock signal. The 8 bits are transmitted or received. That is, LSB bit is first transmitted or received. The baud rate is fixed in mode 0, that is 1/12 of oscillator frequency. Transmission is started by writing a data byte to the serial buffer register, and once the transmission is completed, the TA flag is set. The reception is started by enabling REN bit in SCYN register. Once the data reception is completed, the RA flag is set. The baud rate in mode 0 is fixed, that is 1/12 of the oscillator frequency given below, that is baud rate equal to clock frequency by 12. Here the clock frequency of microcontroller is 11.0592 MHz. So this is the diagram showing mode 0 signal transmission pattern and signal receiving pattern. Here TXD line carries the clock signal and RxD line send or receive the data bits. LSB bit initially sent or received. Whenever during transmission, upon receiving the MSB bit, then the TA interrupt is generated. Similarly, for after completion of receive operation, RI interrupt is generated. So after completion of byte transfer, TA flag is set. After receiving byte transfer, RA flag is set. So in mode 0 operation, full duplex operation is not possible. Only simplex operation is possible in mode 0. Now mode 1 operation. In this mode, 10 bits are transmitted through TXD, and simultaneously 10 bits can be received through RxD. That is, full duplex operation is performed in mode 1. The 10 bits are made up of a start bit and 8 data bits and 1 stop bit. On completion of reception, the stop bit goes into the RB8 bit in the SCYN register, and baud rate is variable in mode 1 and is decided by the timer 1 overflow rate. The baud rate for mode 1 is fixed at the following rate, that is baud rate equal to timer 1 overflow rate by 16. This expression is valid when S mode bit in the PCON register is 1, that is the double baud rate. Next, baud rate equal to timer 1 overflow rate by 32. This condition or expression is valid if S mode bit in PC1 register is 0. Here PC1 is the special function register, power control register. The MSB bit of PC1 register can be set or reset by the programmer. The baud rate can be doubled by setting the MSB bit of PC1. In order to generate the baud rate clock from timer 1 to be configured as a auto reload mode, that is mode 2 operation with timer 1 interrupt is disabled. Now mode 2 operation, in this mode 11 bits are transmitted through TXD line or received through RxD line simultaneously. The 11 bits are made up of 1 start bit, that is always 0, and 8 data bits and programmable 9th data bit and 1 stop bit. Now 9th data bit transmitted is same as the TB8 bit in SCYN register, and it can be assumed that the value is 0 or 1 by the programmer. Here the 9th bit represent parity bit. So this bit becomes 1 or 0 from the PSW register. On reception, the 9th data bit goes into the RB8 in SCYN register, while the stop bit is ignored. In this mode 2 operation, the baud rate is programmable to either 1 by 32 or 1 by 64 of the oscillator clock frequency. Here fixed baud rate. Here the baud rate equal to clock frequency by 32. This expression is valid only if S mode bit equal to 1 in PCYN register and baud rate equal to clock frequency by 64 for if S mode bit equal to 0 in PCYN register. Now let us see mode 3 operation. In this mode, 11 bits are transmitted through TXD line and simultaneously 11 bits are received through RxD line. The 11 bits are made up of a start bit followed by 8 data bits and programmable 9th data bit and 1 stop bit. The mode 3 operation is same as mode 2 operation except that baud rate. The baud rate in mode 3 is variable. The baud rate for mode 3 is fixed in the following rate similar to mode 1, that is baud rate equal to timer 1 overflow rate by 16 if S mode bit equal to 1, baud rate equal to timer 1 overflow rate by 32 if S mode bit equal to 0 in PCYN register. In general, serial transmission in microcontroller starts immediately after data is written into the serial buffer register. After initializing serial port, similarly, serial data is received is possible if REN bit is set. In addition, for mode 0, the RI bit must be 0 for the data transmission. So this is about the serial port in 8051. So these are the various important questions of the topic hardware features of 8051. First one, differentiate between timers and interrupts of 8051, and what is the importance of timers and interrupts in 8051, and list the features of parallel ports of 8051 microcontroller, and 10 marks questions. Describe about parallel ports and memory interfacing in 8051. Discuss in detail about parallel I/O ports in 8051 microcontroller and explain how these ports are accessible for specific applications. Explain mode 0 operation of the 8051 timers. How many operating system modes are available in the serial port of 8051 and explain differences among them. And last one, write 8051 program to transmit message hello world to the PC at baud rate 9600 for external crystal frequency of 11.0592 megahertz. This is about the various important questions from this topic. Thank you.